The sun dipped low in the evening sky, casting a golden hue over the town of Gloryville. It was a serene neighborhood, famous for its charm and close-knit community, but nestled within its heart was a compound, newly renovated, known simply as Amazing Grace. It was an impressive structure, a sprawling edifice with high walls and an intricately designed gate that seemed to whisper secrets to anyone who passed by. Yet despite its allure, Amazing Grace had a dark reputation. Residents often moved in full of hope, only to leave broken and shattered. Businesses crumbled, marriages disintegrated, and once bright futures dimmed. The compound was cursed, or so the whispers went. One faithful day, Peace and her husband, Mr. Tobi, moved into the compound. They had no inkling of its notorious past. Newlyweds and bubbling with enthusiasm, they saw Amazing Grace as the perfect place to start their life together. The rent was surprisingly affordable for a place so luxurious, and the landlord, a charismatic and devout pastor named Reverend Elijah, seemed warm and welcoming. "This is where your dreams will grow," Reverend Elijah had said with a reassuring smile as he handed them the keys. "God's blessings abound here." But then, things began to unravel. It started subtly. Mr. Tobi's deals began to fall through, one after another, for inexplicable reasons. Peace's boss, once supportive, suddenly turned against her. Within months, they were drowning in debt and despair. Their neighbors fared no better. Mrs. Okeke, who had been saving to send her son to university, lost her savings in a fraudulent scheme. Bayo, on the verge of his big break, found his artwork mysteriously destroyed overnight. The compound seemed to feed on their misery, amplifying it with every passing day, and their once peaceful lives tuned to sad one as events unfold. Peace grew suspicious. One evening she confided in Mrs. Okeke and Bayo. "Something is wrong with this place. It's like it's draining us." Mrs. Okeke nodded grimly. "I felt it too, but what can we do? It's as if we're trapped." The trio decided to investigate. They combed through old town records, spoke to former residents, and even consulted a local historian. What they discovered was chilling. Every single person who had lived in Amazing Grace before the renovation had suffered immense personal loss. Some had even died under mysterious circumstances, and the one constant, Reverend Elijah, who had owned the compound for over a decade. Late one night, Peace noticed something peculiar. Reverend Elijah always held midnight prayer sessions in his nearby church, but on certain nights he would leave the church and disappear into the compound's courtyard. Intrigued, she followed him, keeping to the shadows. She watched as the pastor knelt by a patch of bare earth in the center of the courtyard. He began to chant, his voice low and guttural, nothing like the soothing tones he used in his sermons. The ground seemed to tremble, and Peace felt an overwhelming sense of dread. The next day she shared her discovery with her husband, Mrs. Okeke and Bayo. Together they decided to confront Reverend Elijah. But first they needed proof. The group devised a plan. On one of the nights when Reverend Elijah was expected to perform his strange ritual, they hid nearby with a recording device. As they watched, the pastor began his chants, invoking dark forces to bind the destinies of the residents, to fuel his church's growth. "As they suffer, so shall my congregation prosper," he intoned, his voice filled with malice. He buried a small object, an amulet, into the earth, muttering incantations over it. Peace couldn't hold back. "What are you doing?" she shouted, stepping into the light. Reverend Elijah froze, his eyes widening in shock. But his surprise quickly turned to fury. "You shouldn't have seen this," he snarled. The ground beneath them began to shake as if responding to his anger. Shadows seemed to rise from the earth, twisting and writhing. The group fled, narrowly escaping the supernatural chaos. The next day, they took the recording to the police and the local press. The revelations shook Gloryville to its core. Reverend Elijah's church, once a beacon of hope, was exposed as a facade built on the suffering of others. But the pastor was not one to go down without a fight. He denied the accusations, calling them slanders from agents of darkness. However, when the authorities excavated the courtyard of Amazing Grace, they uncovered a macabre sight. Dozens of cursed objects buried over the years, each linked to the misfortunes of the residents. Reverend Elijah was arrested, and during his interrogation, Reverend Elijah finally broke down. In a chilling confession, he revealed that he had been drawn to dark practices after a failed attempt to grow his congregation through legitimate means. "I needed power," he admitted, his voice trembling, "and the spirits promised me success if I fed them the despair of others. Amazing Grace became my altar." His words sent shivers through everyone present. He described how he had buried cursed objects in the compound, each one linked to a ritual meant to siphon the luck and happiness of the residents. "Their pain was the sacrifice," he said, tears streaming down his face, "and my church thrived because of it." "You think this ends with me?" he hissed, as he was led away. "There are others. So many churches are built on such altars. This is far from over." He laughed. As the enchantments were destroyed, the oppressive atmosphere in Destiny Manor lifted. Peace and Mr. Tobi found their luck turning around, as did their neighbors. The compound, once a trap of despair, became a place of renewal. Yet Peace never forgot the chilling sight of Reverend Elijah's eyes as he was taken away in handcuffs. "This isn't over," he had whispered, a sinister smile playing on his lips. For now, though, peace had returned to Gloryville, and as the first rays of a new dawn illuminated Amazing Grace, it seemed the curse had finally been broken. But deep in the shadows, an unease lingered, as if the darkness was merely biding its time. Reverend Elijah's rituals caused immense suffering to others, but in the end, he had to face the consequences of his actions. The story reminds us that every action, good or bad, has repercussions. The story serves as a cautionary tale about those who misuse faith or religious positions for personal gain, urging people to remain vigilant against such exploitation. Even in the darkest situations, light can return. The transformation of Amazing Grace from a place of despair to one of renewal is a testament to the power of hope and perseverance. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating stories that mix culture, mystery, and life lessons.